Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. Truth Disclosure 369. Just wanted to get on here for a minute and share a couple of things um, as I greet each and every person who may come across this video in greeting words of peace. Universal greeting words of peace. Um, so looks like things just continue to take a turn for the worse. And no matter where you at, people are going through some type of struggles or the appearance of governance taking a toll on citizens in different areas across the country, as well as overseas. Here, it's the great divide. Seems like nobody wants to come off the fact that both of these parties, in my opinion, are full of shit, and they've always been full of shit, and they've been bought off, and they've been paid for, and they've been manipulated and used as tools to bring forth things into our society that that shouldn't be involved in these in what you would call a democracy, but yet it's here. And it's not only here, it's happening everywhere, as we see in Canada. And the sad thing about it, people are outrightly working against people's freedoms while people are cheering for it. That's the sad part. That people would be so in a lurch because of the information that they get via mainstream media, which has been proven to be outright liars and manipulators of situations for political means. Don't matter what part of the world you're at, that's what they do. And yet you have people that are actually cheering on their enslavement, which makes no sense at all. But in Canada, what's happening over there in the news, even after certain things has happened, far as blockades and most all of the truckers gone from out of those areas that they deemed necessary for them to leave. The Emergency Powers Act, which was put into effect by Trudeau, can't even say Mr. That's fucked up. What's going on up there? Just as fucked up as stuff that's happening here, but even after the fact, with none of that stuff being an imminent threat or bother to the reality of what's happening in Canada right now, the Emergency Orders Act is still to remain in effect. So it makes you wonder, why would you still have an emergency act in effect in which you're seizing bank accounts, keeping people from being able to purchase or pay bills or this, that, and the third. This is not something that a humanitarian democratic government would be petitioning to do, or even stand by and allow to do. I mean, the evidence is clear on what's happening around the world, and you want people to be in a conscious state in which they could begin to question shit. The questioning begins to make changes. Questioning begins to automatically make changes, because if you wasn't questioning and all of a sudden you started questioning, that automatically begins a change, not only on the questioner's part, but also on the ones being questioned part. And now they feel like, damn, we got somebody else that's trying to get all up in the sauce and trying to find out how shit really is. We got all, damn. Seems like another one every minute now. But what's happening in Canada is full, real, outright wrong on all type of issues. I mean, they can come up with all type of excuses and legitimization all they want to. There's no excuse for what they're doing to their people there. even the ones that cheering for it. They don't even understand what they're cheering for and what they're uh 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 yes man and yes woman into is something that's going to affect them in the long run as well. If not already, they're just in denial about it happening because they still sleep. But that's a bad thing. What's happening in Canada? Only thing that could do is push people into more and more of a corner, just like in other areas of the world where they're doing certain. I think I seen something in New Zealand where the people are protesting and against their prime minister as well as parliament. And I've seen a response from their prime minister. I think her name is Jacinta Hill. I'm not sure, but her whole attitude about speaking with same thing Trudeau hasn't done. He hasn't spoken with any of the people trying to come to an understanding of what things we're trying to address. He hasn't done that. And it's sort of similar to what's going on in New Zealand. The prime minister there hasn't spoken with the people. Matter of fact, she made a statement saying she's not going to meet with people who are throwing human feces and excrement on some of the officers. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, maybe not. But I mean, that's like kind of acting like kids now on something that's dealing with human beings and their welfare for their families and for them as individuals. So that was her excuse of not meeting with them and not intending on meeting with them and continue to have and uh the thing about right now, and it just seems that anytime something is being done in the dark that they don't want people to really ask questions about or have any opposition to, if that opposition becomes a course to a point where it's a threat to what they're trying to keep hitting, they will begin to use as we've seen, propaganda, dehumanizing people and delegitimizing people's movements and their gripes and groans and grievances. And they will use staged incidents. They will use straight up lies. They will use manipulation from the media just to keep people from asking questions, serious questions. Just like how these questions would be like, why would people's information be put out if they donated to anything dealing with them truckers? If they donated, that mean they felt akin to something that they addressed. They supported their opinion. And for people who have donated, then to have their money straight up stolen, because I don't even think them folks got their money back. And they are talking about all the vehicles that they have impounded, that they're going to sell them to help off, to help pay for the cost of all the police and everything that was used in. And it's like, what the fuck? How can you even sit there and tell people that, and people accept that shit as I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm not. I know a lot of the Canadian brothers and sisters up there, human beings, do not agree with that shit. But for it to even come out of politicians up there and people of so-called leadership up there, to even have that shit coming out their mouths, it's crazy. Who gives you the gall to just fuck it? We're just gonna do all this shit. Fuck, they shouldn't have been speaking out against what's going on and against Trudeau, and that's what it sounds like. So we're gonna make life bad for them the best way we can. And they're stealing money and they're hoarding that money. But the funny thing about it is when the state had everything locked down. when this was the thing being heralded, you know, when people were losing their shit and losing their businesses and all this other stuff, and uh, people had to depend on other means of income because their jobs were uh, on hold and all that shit. You ain't hear nothing. You ain't hear them saying nothing when, you know, what, spending money. Now, I'm not sure in Canadian if they had the different stimulus packages sort of counterbalance to what we had here. I'm pretty sure they had some type of help me outs and this, that, and the third. But you know, for years of motherfuckers telling people to do this amongst lies and hypocrisy and just bullshit notions that one side fits all. There is no other size that fits, so you can't be an objective thinker. And yet you still got uh you didn't have that type of backlash. But here it is, you have a peaceful from what I've seen and from what has been shown throughout the time. Of course, media, mainstream media tries to usurp that. Peaceful protest, people who's trying to get some real serious questions out of their government and out of their the head of their government, meaning their prime minister, and not even being able to be met and set down with to come out with you know, answers, simple answers about mandates and all this other stuff, when a lot of the stuff didn't make sense in the first place. And being that a lot of these people are vaccinated, the main thing that they demanding out of people, and these are the people saying, but you're doing it the way you're doing it is wrong, and to turn around and highlight that as being something totally like would be considered anti-terroristic or whatever, to a point where you're stealing people's money, stealing their vehicles, and doing this shit under the cover of so-called cracking down on anti-terrorists or totally beneath it's beneath the whole purpose of being a human being. That you got people that just say fuck your life and this, that, and the third, and if you ain't with what you know, sort of similar to in this country with Dr. Fauci and the constant forgetfulness that this man lied in front of Congress about something that's taken out so many and fucked up a lot of shit. But we can't get no questions out of this, knowing this man and lied. Few people speak out, but it seems like it just get pushed to the back, move on to Russia and Ukraine, you know, and which that right there is started where Russia has moved in separatist back places in Ukraine that are pro-Russia. And you know, this is the shit that you know they want to keep this shit like this going. And you know, it should be obvious to intelligent human beings all over this planet what is going on right now. And if you don't know, it should be important to start researching, and as I've said before, and looking into things from a different mindset and from a different perspective, even if it means researching things outside of the box that a person is normal in, because you can't see the writing on the wall for as what these governments are doing, including here in the United States, what they are doing, and with all of the drama that has been transpiring. It's almost like we're in a free fall. But what they're doing in Canada is totally wrong. And I'm gonna go to this real quick. This is fresh out New York Post. CDC withholding COVID data over fears of misinterpretation. I'm not even gonna play the video because it's of a talking head doctor who basically spits the same shit that you would hear Walensky and a lot of these same doctors that you hear on local news. They always be the so-called COVID experts repeating this, regurgitating the same talking points. But what we have here, the CDC has admitted it is withholding large portions of COVID-19 data, including on vaccine boosters, from the public because it fears the information could be misinterpreted. How could information pertaining to the status and data and I mean, everybody has a right to want to know what the fuck is up, man. Whether you lost people, you didn't lose people, whether you was affected or whatever, because all of it ended up affecting everybody, whether it was economically, however. But you would want to know, what the fuck is their problem with saying some shit. Now, why would how could it be a misinterpretation? I mean, for me, hearing this is just like we just ain't gonna tell you, because maybe some of the data that we're hiding or we're not releasing proves some of the claims that have came out over the past couple of years about some of the shit they've been doing that didn't make sense, it didn't add up, especially in aspects to a lot of the vaccines and the boosters. Were they really doing the job? Have people taken ill? Have people passed away? Have people been fucked up by this stuff? And why would you not share shit that would lead? Why wouldn't you share it? It's up to everybody to see this shit, all this data, and see what's going on. And why would it be a issue with misinterpretation on everybody's part? So it goes on to say the leading public health agency has only published a small sample of the data it has been collecting despite being 2 years into the pandemic. So, I ain't even gonna go all the way into the rest of it, because you have to understand in this day and time, if you can't think for yourself, or you don't have an ability to have a green light just go off, like, or a red light just go off when you come across, especially from mainstream information, when you hear certain stuff and it just sounds odd and it just sounds like, why would that be? That doesn't make any fucking sense, especially with the severity of the issues that it implies. What the fuck? This is crazy, man. So the CDC is withholding COVID data over fears of a so-called misinterpretation, which I take is, it wouldn't be no misinterpretation. It would be telling the truth of what really been going on, and they don't want that out there, and it's fucking shame that right now, even after all this stuff, man, you still got human beings involved in the dumbing down and the pulling of the veil over a person's eyes. These are human beings doing it to other human beings who are just going with the flow and don't understand that what they're doing is helping to entrap and enslave other people, man. It's like that time is coming to an end, because no matter what these folks say, no matter what they talk, or what they decree here or anywhere else on the planet, a time is coming up in which everybody is awakening to a reality that unfortunately holds some eye opening and revealing things in when it comes to our governments across the planet, and the just sheer dystopian and tyrannical postures that a lot of these institutions and governments have been putting out there. And you know, in it for me personally, for being a victim of this whole scheme that has disrupted the whole planet, that has murdered human beings. You know, you damn right I would want to know. I wouldn't be misinterpreted. I want to know what the fuck they got to say and what that data shows. But it's sad that you have people not even interested, or to a point, because of all the deflections and all the things that meant to distract away. One being this mess that's going on in Ukraine and Russia. And you know, have to understand that you know, it might be a time to really see stuff for really what it is, and stop maligning people because other people see it and call it out. I mean, the whole thing here, everybody need to be standing together and calling this shit out for what it is. The only reason why these folks do what they do is because, as I said before, and as a lot of people I'm seeing now starting to realize, they know that the proof is in the pudding of people getting together and unifying across the board, regardless of skin color, religious background, cultural upbringings. They know that this will bring an end to the system that have controlled so many, man, and lied. And to keep everybody at odds, man, it's no different how they doing the crap in Canada. They, you know, to the point they got people in Canada fighting against those who who are either representing or supporting the trucker movement, and you know, looking at them as being terrorists or being mischief makers who were stopping the economy. When once again, when you look at it, like, goddamn, these folks had the economy fucked up 2 years ago when all this shit started, and they were lying back then, and it was bullshit back then. It was misinformation, disinformation, all that stuff back then. And you know, you didn't hear none of that, man. And now when people are speaking out about a lot of this weird shit that ain't making sense, you dare speak out against people who calling that shit out, man. That's sad. That's really fucking sad, man. It don't matter whether you're in Canada or whether you're here or anywhere else. And you know, here, man, the first thing you say about this whole if you say anything about the liberals here or the Democratic Party or what's been going on, you know, you get singled out. You must be a Trump supporter. You must be that. Even though you don't give a flying fuck about Trump or the right or Republican Party. But this is the shit that they have kept going on. And you know, the assumption is that if you don't agree, then automatically you lump in the opposition's party. And that's fucked up how to think like that. How they got people thinking like that. You literally have people out here who gives a fuck about either or. They know that this whole thing is a situation that's being controlled and manipulated. They know this. So, you know, I don't know. I just had to get on here and share that one article and just put it out there about people should see this for what it really is. And what it is a bunch of BS. But it's some BS that's dealing with everybody's BS that's dealing with everybody. Man, that can, and if a person think they ain't being touched by none of this bullshit, they are definitely in denial. And in a la la land world, because everybody's being affected by this shit. The only ones who may have stand a chance against this shit are people who are a little more well off, who got a little this and that, but and who know who have some type of wisdom to kind of navigate through the bullshit. But there are people who are People are losing it all, man. Don't matter who you are. Families torn apart because of the nonsense that has driven wedges in families. As the weather continue to does this thing, I mean, you have people that's going through shit because of stuff that the weather has caused. You know, whether it's more flooding, whether it's this, that, and the third. Hell, they was complaining here about the potholes and all this shit. You know, which happens every year. You know, when you live in a area and that deals with harsh winters, and then you deal with the snow plows coming through, knocking up the concrete and this, that, and the third. But you have people complaining about it here because it's bad. This shit is, I mean, ridiculous. And almost it makes you wonder, like people are starting to see for themselves and wonder and speak out loud, like, okay, why is this shit happening every fucking year with all the money they keep getting, with all the so-called technology you keep having? When you got people who go overseas and, you know, I heard a guy, he said, man, I done lived everywhere overseas in places where it's winter and they don't have their roads tearing up like that. It's only here. Why? Why? Is because they using cheap material? Why would you use cheap material so you keep doing the shit over and over again when motherfuckers paying in to this shit with taxes and all this other shit? So, you know, people start asking these questions. Like, so why is this shit still tearing up like this? Why are you still using the same shit that you've been, that y'all motherfuckers were using 30 years ago? Of course, to no avail, because every fucking year you gotta do the same shit and the shit get tore up, and this motherfuckers end up suffering by their cars being torn up, or this, that, and the third, fucking their tire rods up, blowing a tire, this, that, and the third. And it's like, how long are motherfuckers supposed to keep going through this shit without just eventually saying, what the hell going on? Why is it that nobody could get straight answers from you, whether city, local government, then your court state? You already know federal is done. Why is it that it's like that? Why is it with all that money y'all printing, all this money y'all printing out of nowhere, throwing here, throwing there, and then acting like none of this shit gonna have no repercussions? It ain't gonna have no repercussions for those who are responsible for it, but the repercussions are gonna fall on everybody else, the little man, or the next to the little man, who think they better than the little man, but eventually realize, damn, we in the same fucking boat. But yeah, shit like that is starting to come to people's consciousness and to their forethought. And it's like, it doesn't make sense when you have the same shit happening year after year after year with constant grievances, constant complaints, constant getting money for a certain shit here and there. You know, all this so-called science and all this intelligence and all these, that's work, because it looks like to me more of that shit is being used for either come up with more medical shit for people to be paying for, the rich big pharma, or war shit for the military, shit for war. It's like everything else you get next to nothing. If you get a few people out here in the streets, construction crews working on shit, and you think that's a come up, and it's literally just a patch job. And you know, when does it become enough for the citizens all across the country to be like, what the fuck is really going on? People's places flooding out, they whole streets flooding, and it's been happening for years, and they like, God damn, we've been complaining to the city. They saying, oh, you gotta clean the sewer grates out, make sure ain't no trash obstructing the sewer. Like, man, we've been doing that shit for the last 10 years. That obviously is something else other than, so this is the argument. And it's coming to people's awareness. So with the market like it is, everything is fucking caught up. The stock market, the crypto is caught up. you know, people wanna dive in on crypto, but then you don't really know because they just had a big downfall a couple of weeks ago. I know because I dabble in it a little bit. I'm not an expert on it, but I do have some investment in it, and I'm just seeing how it works, going up and down, going up and down. And Ethereum is one of the Ethereum and Bitcoin are one of the supposed best of the best in that cryptocurrency, and these are the ones taking the hits. In the regular stock market, inflation crazy. So people got to understand, man. It's more stuff at play, and you know it's always the want for people to eventually understand uh, that asking questions that need to be asked, is nothing wrong with that shit. There's nothing wrong with seeming like you're the eyeball because you feel like, damn, man, ain't none of this shit right. And then the first thing to do is just research. Some articles I get from people or I come across, I go in, I start researching shit and looking up this and that, right along with reading material and all that, because that's the only thing that's gonna get us out of this shit. And once we get enough, once we implement knowledge, then we begin to understand how a motherfucker been misled, and then you understand how human beings have been purposely divided, and separation has been used to control this whole planet. And once we realize that we all we all represent a single source. We all come from one source. And when we come together and start looking at shit for the betterment of everybody, including this planet, these fake authorities, these systems that continue to divide and continue to rule by means of fear, enrichment through war, and oppression of human beings, all this shit will cease to exist, because now everybody will know what's the deal is, and the perpetrators behind it will be exposed for who they are, like they're being exposed now, and they are being exposed. And you know, we just hope that this stuff you know what, I said I stopped using that word hope. You just have to believe. You trust in God, you trust in a higher power. That higher power should always be in reference to oneself as well, because without that higher power, you would not be here. You are a complete embodiment of that higher power. And intuition and all that stuff, it comes with it, man. You got to understand that when people begin to see that their the capabilities they have, far as when you start to empower yourself, listening to your intuition instead of to outside shit, especially when outside shit is talking about bullshit. You see it for yourself, it doesn't make sense. Me personally, none of this stuff registers with me, because it's all like a big ass movie, a big movie we living in, playing out. Science fiction, horror, drama, intrigue, all that shit in one. And that's just real talk. But it's time for the movie to come to a close, so people who've been trapped in the movie can move on to how shit supposed to really be. And this is what it's boiled down to. So with that, I just wanted to share, get on here and share a little of that, what's going on. Sending peace and love out all over. Be aware of different stuff that's happening with our beautiful sun, that's been having a lot of activity over the past couple of days, even over the past couple of months. Been kind of keeping on point with that, because the reality of our sun and on CMEs and what's been coming off of, you know, a couple of days ago, there was a CME that was so strong. It was the most powerful recorded on record. but it went off of the backside and wasn't earth facing, but it was able to have an impact on satellites and other stuff out there, supposedly. I do believe there's some stuff out there, but I don't believe they're telling everybody what's out there. But uh, be aware of a lot of pickup in solar activity. Uh, because me personally, I don't believe they would be honest and forthcoming with telling the population of the planet. Only certain few and would do what they do, like I said the last time. So with that, I'm gonna get up out of here. Wishing everybody a continued blessed day and a blessed week, and then that we all will be allowed to witness freedom the way all human beings should be allowed to live it and have it. With that, I greet you as I came in the universal words of peace.